Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And he's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal defense lawyer, coming to you with my pearl handle pistol cufflinks, courtesy of our producer, content genius, and all-around great guy, Michael Rivers. Today's episode is brought to you by eForms.com. That's eForms.com. What did I just say? I said eForms.com. Now remember, if you got an issue that you're trying to do yourself, no sense in hiring a lawyer to draft any documents. Go to eForms.com. You need a will, you need a power of attorney, you need a loan agreement, a lease agreement, anything like that. Go to eForms.com. No sense in paying me, which you can get done for almost nothing at eForms.com. So go there right now after you watch the rest of this video, of course. You can click on the link down below. So today, we get involved. I get involved in all kinds of cases, homicides, and I always say there's nothing like a good homicide between friends. But and sometimes there's these high-profile cases that come into play, and Jodi Arias was one of those cases. So Jim Can't Swim, or JCS, has done a reaction video to Jodi Arias. I really like what he does, and I like the way he presents things. And go ahead and give him some love as well. So my hat's off to him. So and I haven't seen this yet, but I know the case. I remember when it was going on. I watched quite a bit of the case because I'm a lawyer, and I like to watch other lawyers. I like to watch cases because I like to know not only what I should do, but what I shouldn't do. So let's just kind of get into this and see what they have to say.
In the year 1980, on Wednesday the 9th of July at exactly 11:54 p.m., a little girl named Jodi Ann Arias was born in the city of Salinas, California, and completely unbeknownst to her doting parents, was destined to become one of the most infamous people in the United States of America.
By the way, this is going to be a three-parter. So this will be a three-part series, just kind of dissecting the Jodi Arias case. Because there's so many different facets to it. It's a death penalty case, so you've got that part of it. You've got the relationship aspect. You've got the actual homicide itself. So, and then you've got some of the self-snitching on it.
From what we know about her behavioral sequences, and despite what her defense team would later want you to believe, there's virtually nothing in Jodi's childhood that can be a contributing factor to what she would eventually be capable of. The only thing worth mentioning was that she dropped out of high school in the 11th grade to pursue a career in photography, but it went nowhere. In February of 2006, at 26 years of age, she began a new job as a salesperson for a network marketing company called Prepaid Legal, and it was through this occupation where she crossed paths with fellow sales representative Travis Alexander, a 28-year-old practicing Mormon from Arizona, who also worked part-time as a motivational speaker.
When you get someone to the briefing, they say no, that counts. When you get someone fully exposed and they say no, that counts. Every time you get one of those, cross one off the list. By the time the 100th one's crossed off the list, you won't be able to spend the money.
He was a very charismatic young man, which immediately caught Jodi's attention. They met at a business conference in September of 2006 and began a curious relationship from that point forward. To cut a long story short, Jodi was in love, and Travis was not. They broke up after just 5 months, but soon after the split, Jodi moved from her grandparents' home in Yreka, California, into an apartment just 2 blocks from Travis's house in Mesa, Arizona. She was at that moment labeled the crazy stalker ex by all of Travis's friends.
So when you have an issue like this, where somebody just won't leave you alone, you need to take steps. And here's the other thing: you can't go back to them. Once you cut it off, you can't have this murky thing where you go back and forth, back and forth. That's what happened in this case. And sometimes the temptation of just another round of lovemaking, for lack of a better word, a booty call, it's just tempting, but you cannot, with these kind of people, you cannot go back and forth.
Although Travis agreed, he would continue having sex with her out of pure convenience. She would show up unannounced on countless occasions, sometimes in the middle of the night, and Travis would let her in every time. It became somewhat of a routine, and a dysfunctional situation that neither were happy with. Travis, although he enjoyed the sex, essentially wanted her out of his life, while Jodi desperately wanted...
You can't, guys, you can't do that. You just can't, because something's going to happen. Either they call the cops on you, or we need to call the cops on them.
...wanted a serious relationship, and going off the myriad of entries in her diary, she firmly held on to the belief that they were meant to be together. In late May of 2008, however, she would ultimately have a change of heart. Travis had a work retreat planned to Cancun, Mexico for July 10th. It was all paid for by his employer and allowed him to take a friend with him. Jodi knew about this and believed, or at the very least hoped, that she would be the one going. Yet in the last week of May, it became known that Travis was taking another woman instead, a Mormon girl by the name of Mimi Hall, someone that Travis had been romantically interested in for some time. When Jodi found out, it would be safe to assume that she was heartbroken. It would be even safer to assume that she was absolutely enraged, and the collective opinion is that a specific thought process began to emerge in her mind, one that forged a psychological justification for a certain decision.
So, I've had situations where, in between good relationships, you meet somebody, but you got to make sure that everything fits. All the pieces of the puzzle fit, because it can get so sideways so fast if you're with somebody who is psychotic, or somebody who's bipolar, or somebody who's really got an issue, and you need to take care of who first? You first.
On June 4th, 2008, 6 days before Travis was set to leave for Mexico, Jodi would once more show up unannounced. All we know for sure is that they had sex and took explicit pictures of each other using Travis's new camera. At roughly 5 p.m., Travis would get in the shower and Jodi would begin taking pictures of him using the same camera. Then, moments after this picture was taken, Jodi would stab Travis a total of 27 times. She would also cut his throat and shoot him in the face.
Now, when that happens, you really can't claim self-defense, can you?
During the onslaught, Travis's camera took 2 accidental photographs. The first was taken as Jodi dropped it during the onset of the attack. The second was taken as she kicked it by mistake while moving Travis's body. It showed Jodi's foot and a fatally wounded or deceased Travis.
These kinds of forensics that all of a sudden just pop up, they have, the metadata is also there, and it really can be a death nail to any defense.
The amount of time that passed from the 2 photographs was 62 seconds. Jodi then spent an estimated 45 minutes cleaning down the crime scene to make sure none of her DNA was left behind. This included wiping down the victim's body with a cup of water and a cloth.
First of all, when you wipe out blood like that, you never get it all. Okay? And so they got lumen, they can do all kinds of tests to see what's on the floor. Second of all, evidence of cleaning is consciousness of guilt.
She also deleted the pictures from Travis's camera before throwing it in the washing machine. She would then drive back out into the desert and leave Travis a voicemail for the purpose of placing herself away from the crime scene and giving herself an alibi.
The problem with all that is that looks like cold, calculated premeditation. And premeditation is what they need for murder one.
I know Leslie called you, so I already talked to her, so you can call her back if you want, but it's not necessary. My phone died, so I wasn't getting back to anybody. And what else? Oh, and I drove 100 miles in the wrong direction, over 100 miles, thank you very much. So yeah, remember New Mexico? It was a lot like that, only you weren't here to prevent me from going into the 3 digits, so fun. Tell you all about that later. Also, when we were talking about your upcoming travels my way, I was looking at the May calendar, so I'm all confused. But Heather and I are going to see Othello on July 1st, and we would love for you to accompany us. Let me know, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. And this message.
Jodi would then drive to another man's house in Utah by the name of Ryan Burns and stayed the night. He would later testify that nothing seemed off about Jodi's behavior, only that they kissed and engaged in sexual intercourse.
So if she just had sex with him, and now she's having sex with him, and nothing seems off. In other words, she can be a good actress. There's some true psychosis or sociopathy. In other words, she's a sociopath.
Travis's body was discovered by Mimi and her friends 5 days later, the day before they were supposed to leave to Cancun together.
How long were you there trying to get into the house?
Just, a couple of minutes. I banged on the door, rang the doorbell over and over again. Nobody answered. I was scared that something might be happening to him because I knew that he had a stalker. Travis's friend.
So the fact that she knows about the stalker immediately puts the focus on Jodi. Immediately.
On the phone, suggested that we go in through the garage and look for him in the house. And then as soon as they said that they saw blood, that there's blood everywhere, I stopped looking and said, he's dead. He's dead. And so immediately I called the police.
After the news of Travis's death broke the following day, Jodi called the police and offered to help with the investigation. She was then transferred to the lead detective, Esteban Flores, of the...
This is just a critical mistake of Jodi. But when people are narcissistic and sociopaths, they have an overinflated sense of their intelligence and their impact on others.
Mesa Police Department. The most notable detail of the phone call was that Jodi agreed to provide a sample of her DNA. Over the following month, forensics were able to uncover the deleted photos from Travis's camera, and despite her best efforts, discovered Jodi's DNA all over the crime scene.
Okay, so you've got, she thinks that the act of placing the camera in the washing machine, she thinks, I'm in the clear, that's done. I mean, she'd have been better off taking the camera with her, but she didn't. And like I told you, when you have a bloody crime scene like this, you can do your level best to clean it all up, but you know you're going to leave something behind. You're just going to. So she willingly gave her DNA, but here's the long and short of it. She's going to be the suspect anyway, and it really wouldn't be hard for the cops to get a warrant for her DNA. It's something that is done every day.
During this time, oblivious to the evidence that was building against her, Jodi would post multiple pictures of her and Travis on Facebook, alongside emotional messages to Travis himself. She even sent his family flowers and a letter expressing her grief over his death. The Mesa Police Department launched their case against Jodi on July 15th.
So when somebody does something like that, that gives you just chills, doesn't it? Because it's so cold and so calculated that it goes to another level of detachment, really, not only from reality but from humanity.
41 days after the murder, Detective Flores would be the one to conduct her interrogation. He had spoken with her once over the phone and was present when she was fingerprinted and swabbed for DNA. The Siskiyou County Police arrested Jodi at her grandparents' house at 7:35 a.m. and only said they had a warrant for her arrest without giving further information. She was placed in handcuffs and didn't once ask what she was being arrested for in the 6-minute drive to the local police station. What makes Jodi Arias stand out among the many cases in the realm of true crime is the manner in which she attempts to navigate the system. She seems to believe that if she presents herself in a certain way and adopts a very specific character with very specific traits, it will give her the best chance at evading the consequences of her actions.
That's because up until then, she's been able to get whatever she wants by manipulation. And when somebody's fucking sick and tired of putting up with her bullshit, guess what happens? I mean, so she wound up killing him. That just goes to show you the level of psychopathy and how much she really is a sociopath. When you're a sociopath, the only person she gives a shit about is herself. Period. So, and like I said, an overinflated sense of impact on others.
In her mind, this character is a soft-spoken, sweet-natured, God-fearing individual, yet to everyone else is quite possibly the most universally annoying person to ever abide in the history of existence.
This is one of the things that they do here in jail. You know, they'll let you sit there and they'll record you, and you can sit there for hours, and you'll eventually say something.
In the next moment, Jodi will hear Detective Flores approaching the room. She will then abruptly place her head on the table to make it appear as if she's sleeping.
And they're watching this video.
She will now notice the detective has instead walked past the room and then revert back to her regular sitting position. For whatever reason, Jodi wants to appear as if she's in a far calmer state than she actually is. She wants the detective to believe that she's relaxed enough to doze off, when she is in fact extremely alert and anticipating his arrival. She places her head back on the table to feign a placid state once more, and you'll notice her left shoulder hovers in what looks like a very uncomfortable position for just over a minute. She then hears the external door open, at which point she takes a deep breath and then fully rests onto the table.
Can I get those off you? So you remember me?
Of course I do.
I traveled all the way up here to come talk to you. Because, you know, I've been working on Travis's case ever since it happened. Okay, and I know exactly when it happened, when he was killed. I know a lot of details. And just recently we found quite a bit of evidence, and I'll discuss that with you. The main thing that I'm looking for, though, is answers on why certain things happened.
Excuse me, I would like to talk to my lawyer, please. That's what she should say right now. But when you're a sociopath, when you're a narcissistic sociopath, you're going to try to talk yourself out of this. And to this day, she keeps trying to talk herself out of it.
Why they went so far, and also to get your statements.
Okay.
She's been brought to a police station in handcuffs and now just told her arrest is concerning the death of her ex-lover. An innocent person sitting in her position would want immediate clarification as to what exactly is going on. Jodi doesn't inquire further, just gently accepts to cooperate after being given a very vague, yet highly accusive clarification of the situation.
A lot of details in this case that haven't been released to the public, and not even to Travis's family. And those details are known only by us and the person who did it. Okay, and that's one of the reasons I'm here, is because I believe that you know some of these details. And I think you can help us.
I would love to help you in any way that I can.
Okay. Because we're here at the police department, the sheriff's department here in, was it Siskiyou County?
Siskiyou.
That's what it's called, okay. And you're considered under arrest or detained. You're not free to go. And I'm a police officer. I have to read you your rights, okay? I'm sure you've heard them on TV, you know.
So Miranda is invoked whenever there's in custody and interrogation. If she wasn't in custody and she was free to leave, he wouldn't have to read her rights. But she's in custody, interrogation, he has to read her rights. If he doesn't, anything she says can't be held against her.
I have to read them off this little card here, but they're pretty much the same, and I'll explain them to you as we go, okay? And, you know, if there's a question that you don't want to answer, you don't feel comfortable, you can say no, you know, or, you know, you can elaborate as much as you want, and it's completely up to you. It's at your speed. I don't want to pressure you.
Is this recorded at all, or should we?
Yeah, I don't know.
Most of these, in fact, in Minnesota, there's a case called Scales. And a Scales interview has to be recorded wherever reasonably. And you want them to record it because you don't want the cops to lie about it.
Batteries or what?
I don't think they're on.
Hindsight allows us to recognize this is simply an attempt to appear innocent. She seems to think that if she appears confident enough to recommend the use of an outdated voice recorder, that it will seem as though she has nothing to hide in the eyes of the detective. But it's just bizarre. If the detective wasn't already certain of Jodi's guilt, he would most certainly become suspicious at this moment.
Very mythical.
It's
I still
okay.
have the stick.
Yeah, I haven't touched those or anything, but,
Oh, okay.
Jodi's mind would be racing here, yet she desperately wants her exterior self to appear calm. She's so focused on having this nonchalant disposition that she completely fails to realize her behavior doesn't match the situation whatsoever. She's in a state of hyperarousal while feigning a state of composure, and the end result just looks very strange.
I totally agree with that, because I've seen interviews where people, you know, their boyfriend's dead and she's on the hook for it, and the interview, she's just absolutely apoplectic. I mean, first of all, you got two things going on. You got the death of somebody she supposedly loved, right? And then you also have her being on the hook for that death, and she's in custody for that. And her masking that is just bizarre. It speaks of a guilty mind.
It's very strange. It gives reason for her unusual infatuation with a voice recorder, and also for her oncoming sitting position, which really can't be described, only compared to a sea lion peeking over a rock.
They're not on, so what I want to do is just get to the bottom of it. Everybody wants to know, okay? And, you know, so I'm going to ask you some questions. You can voluntarily answer if you want. Okay, is that cool?
Yeah.
Yes.
I just wish clients knew to just shut the fuck up and just not to talk to the police, because it never ever helps them.
There was some question about you being, well, let's start with this. What have you been up to since Travis's death?
What have you been up to since Travis's death? Now, in this day and age, guess what? We have... Oh, by the way, I'm in a different suit because I soiled my last one. Kidding. No, we're just picked up on a different day. So, there's nothing that she can answer that's going to help her on this. And the reason being is because if she tells the truth, it's going to reveal where she was, and she's covering her fucking tracks, right? But the other thing is, in this day and age with cameras all over the metro area, cameras and cell phone data, so there's just nothing she can do to help herself here. But here she goes, because she's smarter than everybody in the room.
Well, what have you been doing?
Well, I've been working. I haven't been really working in prepaid legal. There's not a whole lot here in this marketplace, which is...
It's kind of small here.
It's small here, and really that could be seen as an opportunity rather than a hindrance, because that just means the market is untapped in a large way. So I could have, if I wanted to, but I'm kind of like a deer in the headlights when it comes to prepaid legal. I just have a fear of just approaching people.
And so she's not even saying what she's doing, just career opportunities. And notice when she's sitting here, she's got zero affect. And what that means is she's not emotional at all. And her not being emotional is a fucking problem, because if she really loved this guy and he's dead and she didn't kill him, or if she really killed him and it was this traumatic thing where he was abusing her, either way there should be some emotion. In other words, she's got this sociopathic kind of killer mentality where she doesn't have emotion.
You'll come to notice that Jodi will go off on these unrelated tangents anytime she has the slightest chance to do so. It's a recurring theme in interrogations for when the suspect is facing serious charges. And the common theory is that it's an attempt at gaining a momentary escape from what is likely the most terrifying moment of their life. Going into detail about topics completely unrelated to the situation at hand essentially delays the onset of their new reality. Forensic psychology views this as a form of denial. The detective subtly nudges her away from the theme of network marketing and onto the topic of Travis. She starts off with a Facebook post she made in his memory.
I realized looking back on it that it kind of sounded immature. It's more like my dear Travis kind of letter. And so I took it down because...
More personal?
Yeah, some of it was details, a little bit more personal. Not too personal, nothing inappropriate. Just, I just felt funny. I think because I'm a photographer, I tend to communicate more through pictures, so I posted a ton of pictures that I had of him, and I have a ton more that I just can't access right now, and videos and things that I know his family would want, but...
She then explains how it's hard to talk about Travis's death with the guy she's now dating.
And we've been talking a lot, and we try not to talk about that because it's kind of like, ugh. And plus, Travis is my ex-boyfriend, but at the same time...
It's kind of like, ugh. I mean, Here's the thing. If it weren't for fucked up people in this world, I wouldn't have a job.
He's my friend, so while I'm mourning my friend, how do you talk to your new potential possible maybe person that you might start dating about your friend, even though he was your ex-boyfriend? So it's kind of a gray area.
The detective knows she'll happily trail off until the morning comes, so he cuts her off and locks her into the situation at hand.
And I've talked to a lot of people, and everybody's pointing a finger at you. You know, everybody is saying, I don't understand what happened to Travis. I don't know who killed him. But you need to look at Jodi. And sometimes the simplest answers are the correct ones.
One of the most fascinating parts of this interrogation is how long the detective allows Jodi to cling on to hope. For the first 45 minutes, she will be terrified, yet still believe there's a chance she will be going home at the end of it. The detective will hint at her suspicions and culpability in a gradual manner, yet not directly accuse her until a much later stage. Dangling the idea of hope above someone's head while simultaneously hinting at the grim future that awaits them would perhaps be considered cruel in most other circumstances. Yet on this occasion, it is tolerated for a tactical purpose.
See, the thing is, if he goes right into, it just makes common sense. If you tell her, oh, you're fucked. We got this, this, and this. Now this is your opportunity to tell us, and you're never leaving this. You're never going to be free again. She's going to shut down. So if you give her a chance to hang herself, she's going to. So we're going to do more of this, and we'll get into more of the criminality and what it takes to actually take somebody's life, and what kind of person Jodi Arias is, and how she went through this whole process. So this is just the part one of maybe a 3 or 4 part series, and we'll keep this going. I think this is kind of interesting because it goes into the true crime, and we can really dive in deep, and then you guys can ask me some questions on our channel, and we'll be happy to answer whatever you got. So this is Bruce Rivers. Thanks for watching part 1 of Jodi Arias. We'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, follow us on, or subscribe, like, follow. Make sure you sign up for Patreon, and stop your self-snitching. We'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, police is at my God.